Please welcome back to the stage your SATE 2019 co-chairs, Ian Klein, Nathan Jones, and Shannon Martin.
Good morning.
Yay. Morning.
Good
SATE Las Vegas, right? How fun is that going to be? A little partial, a hometown.
Amazing. Everyone have a good night last night at the Needle? Everyone go out? Pretty amazing. You're welcome for the weather. We ordered that especially for you guys. So clear skies, views of the mountain is pretty amazing. None of this would be possible, of course, without sponsorship and a lot of companies that support TEA. So our global partners, like to thank them as well. So global partners including Chimelong, Christie, Universal Creative. What am I doing for timing?
That was a cool
Hey,
graphic.
Joe. Hi, Joe.
Look, where'd it go?
Walt Disney Imagineering and Wanda. And we'll certainly show their, yes, thank you very much. Also want to thank global sponsors as well, Seventh Sense. There we go. Oh, yeah, perfect. Right on time, 7th Sense. ANES, Adirondack Studios. There we go, we got it down. AES, Aquatic Design and Engineering. And we'll go all the way through to Chicago Scenic Studios, Cortina Productions, D&B Audio Technic, Disney Parks, and Live Entertainment. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors. Don't forget as well to sign up for the Julian Barris Historical Tour of Pioneer Square. That's starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., so please do sign up for that. That's at registration, so sign up if you'd like to be included in that tour for tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the Themed Entertainment Association would just like to take a moment again this morning and continue to acknowledge the original stewards of this land, the Duwamish tribe. We are on the unceded and ancestral lands of the Duwamish people that are still here, continuing to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage, So thank you.
So today we're excited to get underway for the second day of SATE, and while storytelling, architecture, technology, and experience are, of course, the pillars of SATE, we'll be continuing to pointedly connect the dots between them, constantly expanding the definition of what themed entertainment is and can be, as well as inviting new and unexpected voices into that conversation.
Oh, there we go. What we would like to do is introduce Eric Moss. Eric is the Director of Communications for the Greater Seattle Business Association. The GSBA is the largest LGBTQ and allied chamber of commerce in North America. The GSBA represents over 1,300 small businesses, corporate and nonprofit members who share the values of promoting equality and diversity in the workplace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Let's see, is this up there? Okay. Again, my name is Eric Moss. My pronouns are he and him, and I work for GSBA. You heard the explanation of GSBA already. I'll leave that up there. We can move forward. GSBA does a lot of things in Seattle and across the state of Washington. We operate on 4 pillars: business, community, philanthropy, and advocacy. All of those are done looking at business and community through a lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equality is good business. That's our major slogan. I want to first welcome you to Seattle. Thank you so much for choosing Seattle for SATE. We're happy to have you here. There are so many things to do here in Seattle. Pike's Public Marketplace, the oldest public marketplace operating in the United States, I believe. While you're there, you can check out the gum wall. You can take and leave what you'd like. There's a lot of Seattle superstition about the gum wall and how it affects our sports teams. Seattle is full of Northwest wine and beer. We have a lot of LGBTQ and women-owned winemakers in this area, including breweries that support equality through membership to GSBA. Pike Marketplace, while you're there, you can check out Pike Brewing. Every year they can a Pride Ale, which sells out before the actual month of June. It's a very delicious tangerine ale. Check out some of our nature, some of our parks. I know the weather this morning was so great in Seattle. You're walking in the rain here. We have parks all across the city that are dedicated to natural beauty and to the architecture around the city. I encourage you to check these out. This one here is in Volunteer Park. Of course, this is the fountain right outside these doors. Most days you can sit in the Seattle Center and take in the fountain, the views, check out the people before you go up to the Space Needle. And of course, we have some rare things too. Seattle's very quirky. We have the Fremont Troll underneath the bridge. You can see it's holding a car underneath its hand there. These are just a few of the things you can do in Seattle, but I encourage you to explore the city. I encourage you to go find businesses that support equality and to spend your money there, to shop intentionally, and to look for opportunities to enjoy Seattle while you're here. I know many of you are here over the weekends. If you feel like catching a concert, we have theaters, we have music, we have all kinds of things that are available to you. And here's my pitch. You can find all of this on traveloutseattle.com. It's a travel and tourism program that we operate through GSBA, where every business listed there is a business that supports equality and puts their money where their mouth is for the LGBTQ community. Moving on from that, we're going to talk really quickly. This is a huge topic, diversity, equity, inclusion in business, and why equality is good business. Most of this data comes from Community Marketing and Insights. It's a national organization or a national group that does surveys across the LGBTQ community, from hospitality and tourism, advertising, community resources, and how different marginalized groups feel inside the LGBTQ community themselves. The information today is coming from their 12th annual survey and the 23rd annual hospitality and tourism survey. But the big question is, everyone says, why should I support equality, right? And I'll say because the cost of not supporting equality, one, is a lot higher than actually investing in diversity, equity, inclusion inside your business. The negative effects of PR can be much costlier than actually just investing to begin with. But if you need a different reason, there are 3.7 trillion reasons why you can support diversity, equity, and inclusion in your business. The global buying power, I heard earlier there are people from 3 countries here. Is that correct? Or different countries? Many different countries? Yes, I heard many. Globally, $3.7 trillion is the buying power of the LGBTQ community. In the United States, it's 1.7 trillion, which isn't a small chunk of change. This is something that industry is competitive for. And on top of that, LGBTQ consumers are known to be brand loyal. If you advertise to the community will return to your business over and over again. We have examples of this internationally, we have examples of this locally, but you see the ads all over the place that are specifically targeting to LGBTQ community members. The LGBTQ consumers, they also talk a lot. I don't know if you have any LGBTQ friends, but you'll know that they will tell you their experiences freely and openly most of the time. They'll tell you where they had a good experience, but most importantly, they will vocally tell you where they had a bad experience. Word of mouth travels far and wide, and a little bit of work to be more inclusive can go a long way. It's always less expensive to invest up front than to hire PR to fix the situation, and again, equality is good business. But don't take my word for it. There's data to support all of these statements. In a survey of about 18,500 folks in the LGBTQ community, they were asked this question: do you support? And they say, I tend to support companies that market to and support the LGBT community. 78% said yes. And support and marketing to aren't just pandering and putting up an ad or saying something or doing something. This is some organizations that actively invest back into the community. Sponsor things like this, sponsor different organizations, sponsor nonprofits, show up and actively build community for their staff and the people around them. Companies that support LGBTQ equality will get more of my business this year. 76% agreed to that. This data speaks pretty well to say that if you make active efforts to be inclusive, to build diversity, to build equity, to build inclusion inside of your work practices, that people will come to you. And finally, if there's no other reason to do it, the community believes that it's important, that corporate and business citizenship is important. 85% believe that it is more important than ever that businesses, that organizations build these practices into their business and are transparent about them. So real quick, I only have a few minutes to talk about this, so real quick, I'm going to give you some freebies. These are things that you won't have to actually hire someone out to talk about. Here's some free information for you. Here's some quick ways you can do it. Building diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace isn't just a catchphrase. It's something you have to live. It's something you have to do. So you can you can start at home. You can recruit and hire diverse staff. This is an intentional effort in your organization, but I would encourage you to also look at your board of directors. If your board of directors is not as diverse and inclusive as the rest of your organization, or the people you are trying to attract to your venues, or to your events, or to things that you would like them to be, that can be a problem. The community will notice that your board of directors doesn't represent them, that your staff doesn't represent them. Part of being a welcome and inclusive place is having staff and venues and accommodations for folks where they can see themselves in that place. You have a free resource in your organizations, big or small. If you have 5 staff, if you have 100 staff, if you're a corporation, you have a free resource. You can form an employee resource group. This does a number of things, but the first thing it does is it shows your employees that their opinion matters, that you value them as a person, you value them as who they are, who they come to work. Your employee resource group, or an ERG, or affinity groups are sometimes called, can be your number one resource to do a self-evaluation. Are we doing enough? Are we doing the right things? Are we doing some things wrong that we could fix and change? This kind of internal look is a great way to start moving forward to becoming more inclusive and representing more diversity in your organization. And then the other part of it is, if you just say we do these things, but you haven't written it down, it's not a real commitment, right? So you can write down DE&I policies, diversity, equity, inclusion, equality policies, put them in writing, make them public, make it part of your storytelling. Tell that part of your story to the world. Let everybody know that you are intentional in your effort to become more inclusive. And then outside of that, there's some other things that you can do right away. You can develop programming that's more inclusive to marginalized communities. In the LGBTQ community, it's not just one type of person. It's a very intersectional community, right? Someone may identify as LGBTQ, but they also might be from a different community, a marginalized community. They might be a person of color. They might be a women business owner. They might be disabled. There are a number of ways that people identify intersectionally. Building these programs to include everybody doesn't exclude other folks. It just broadens your audience, broadens your customer base. You can put your money where your values are. So once you've had your employee resource group, once you've put your values in writing, then you invest into them, which is really easy to do. There are tons of organizations that will help you spend your money through advertising, through targeting, through demographics, through research. A little bit of money in this area can really go a long way in broadening your scope of inclusion. And last but not least, I come from a business chamber that is LGBTQ and minority focused. So I would tell you that when you hold events like this, when you hold events or travel, when you source from vendors, research your vendors. Try to be intentional where you spend your money. Try to find a woman-owned business. Try to find an LGBTQ-owned business. Try to find any other kind of minority business that you can spend your money with. Not only is that good for them, it's good for you. It's good for the communities they serve. It's good for the communities they come from. Being intentional with your spending when it comes to vendors can also help tell your story of the work you're doing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And a tool for that, because I don't want to leave you without a tool, is you can go to the National Gay and Lesbian Chambers of Commerce if you're in the United States. There's other things outside the United States, but at NGLCC, they have a list of business chambers across the area or businesses that are LGBTQ certified. You're looking for a lighting technician or a contractor. You're looking for a venue. You're looking for a caterer. You're looking for construction. You're looking for anything. I encourage you to look first in certified minority-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, POC-owned businesses. This is a way that you can build inclusivity into your practices all around. So I think I'm out of time, but the first, I want to leave you with a couple things, is that if you remember anything, the idea that I'm sharing with you today is to be intentional, to look at your business in a way that's not just about the bottom line, to look at your venue just not about the art and just not about the entertainment, but be intentional in the audience that you're drawing, the ways that you build practices to include them in your hiring, in your staffing, in your contracting. And that goes a little bit a long way. I know this is about storytelling, and I will tell you, as the Director of Communications for an LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, I look for stories to share of folks who are doing this work. I want to sing your praises. I want to share your stories across the world. And if you're doing that work, it makes it a lot easier for me to find that stuff. If you have any questions about diversity, equity, inclusion, or contracting with LGBTQ certified folks, feel free to reach out to us. This is my contact information, but you can also find us if you Google GSBA. Inside a lot of this, or you can send an email. This is our office email, which goes to the appropriate people, so if your question's about contracting, it'll get filtered out. If it's about storytelling to an LGBTQ audience, I can help you with that. Feel free to reach out. I want to thank you so much for letting us come here and share this information with you this morning. I feel privileged to be your first speaker this morning, and I hope you enjoy Seattle. Go check out some of our weird, quirky, and odd things in this city, and then let me know what you thought about it. I'll share your stories. Thank you.